This is Real Life with Deb Waterbury, a real show for real people with real issues. And now, here's your host, Dr. Deb Waterbury.
Welcome to this episode of Real Life with Deb Waterbury. And I am joined for a very short series by Dwight.
Thanks.
Dwight.
Yeah.
The series is about fitness.
Oh, we love fitness.
Do we? So this week is an easier one that I do love. Next, we're only going to do 2 weeks on fitness.
Okay.
Spiritual and physical.
Oh.
So you and I are going to talk about spiritual fitness. And then next week, we're going to talk to my trainer and very good friend, Shallow Anderson, about physical fitness.
But I feel like they're together.
They are together.
They're kind of the same.
They are kind of the same. Although physical fitness, we're really just going to talk about how to be physically fit and healthy. And we'll take it from a spiritual, and it is spiritual anyway, because
Yes.
you're to take care of this temple.
Yep.
But I felt like we needed to really keep them separate in terms of, because the Bible does speak directly to spiritual fitness.
Exactly.
And literally the verbiage is about that, because it needs to take precedence.
Right. And we've talked about that week after week
Yes.
after week. God first. Don't make, the gym, our friends working out, don't make that stuff idle.
Because your physical fitness will only be in correct perspective if your spiritual fitness has taken its proper place.
And then the devil usually tries to mess with that too.
Yes.
That one I don't want to do this, then I don't want to do that, then I...
Right.
Just a little teeny bit.
Yep. So we're going to talk about spiritual fitness today, and like I said, physical fitness next week. And I think using spiritual fitness as the name of this, you could call it all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But it really, and Paul is my favorite to talk about this because he really does. He must have been an athlete, or he must have liked to exercise, or
Right,
something.
because he uses mental pictures
Yes.
and images
It's
and
always about exercising, racing, boxing, whatever.
endurance.
Yes, endurance. It's always
He was
that
a
kind of-
marathon runner.
He was something that liked to hit people because he was out about boxing too. But he was always talking about that being the analogy to
Yes.
compare to your spiritual fitness.
Yes.
So and why that's so important. And this is so much of what you do.
Every day.
Your job is wellness, but from a spiritual standpoint.
And thinking about the body as a whole, we're a
Yes.
whole person. So it's not just physical. It's emotional, occupational, intellectual, spiritual, emotional. Oh my gosh, there's a workout for most of us right there.
And all of those things, don't you feel, feed into your spiritual fitness?
Yes.
Because and we said this in so many episodes, so many times, this is the most important thing. If there's a crack in your vertical, then so many things will suffer. Not the least of which is your spiritual health.
Right, and a lot of people in the world would think that something else is more important in that picture, but we know that the spiritual is the foundation.
That's exactly right, yes. So yes, the spiritual fitness does then I think add right into everything else, into everything that you do must start with your spiritual fitness. So this series then will have, as I said, 2 parts, and today we want to talk about that in particular. Let me start with these couple of scriptures that were by Paul. One of them, though, in Hebrews, which is not Paul, but these scriptures really do speak specifically to your spiritual fitness and why it's so important. So the first one is by Paul, and he's writing to Timothy. It's 1 Timothy chapter 4, verses 7 through 10. Have nothing to do with irreverent, silly myths. Rather, train yourself for godliness. For while bodily training is of some value, godliness is a value in every way, as it holds promise for the present life and also for the life to come. The saying is trustworthy and deserving of full acceptance, for to this end we toil and strive, because we have our hope set on the living God, who is the Savior of all people, especially of those who believe. So what Paul's writing to Timothy right there is basically what you and I just said, is that having your spiritual fitness and striving for spiritual health is the most important thing.
And he even leaves room for the physical fitness later.
He says it's not that it's not important,
Right.
but it's just not as important.
Right, because you can't be spiritual if you're dead. So you need to take care of your body physically.
Really do. Just brass tacks is taking it right down to the bottom.
Well, yes.
It is true.
When that's how you kind of bring people to the point of, do you want to take care of yourself?
Right.
Then you need to work on all of yourself.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly
And
right.
usually when we get to that point, it's because something spiritually has broken.
Has broken. So we want to talk about how we get to that where that doesn't happen. Paul also wrote in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 26 and 27, so I do not run aimlessly. Here's where we talk about him being a marathon runner. I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified. So he is comparing here his running and his boxing to his actual living in his spiritual discipline. So the implication here, by the way he's saying, is I do not run. So that the implication there is that he does run.
Right.
I do not box. So the implication here is that he does box.
That he does.
So he's not saying that he is not physically fit, but he's saying I don't do these things for nothing. And then he's saying, so likewise, my life, if I'm doing these things, boxing at the air and running aimlessly, then it's the same thing as if my life does not then display my relationship to Christ and my spiritual health, then it's not doing anything. It's not serving anybody. It's not serving my health. It's not serving anybody else spiritually.
He's not practicing what he preaches.
Yes, exactly.
To say it nicely.
That's exactly right.
And we have to do that not only physically, but spiritually.
Yes.
In everything that we do.
And when, basically, if you're a runner, and I am a runner, and I think you run as well.
Every now and then.
So as a runner, I have a point. I don't just start running around. Just run around like a doofus.
Right.
I'm running. I have a place I need to run, a distance I need to run, a time I want to run.
Right.
I'm running with purpose.
Yes.
My son is a boxer, so he doesn't just run around boxing at the air and boxing. He's training to box a person, or the bag, or whatever. You have a purpose.
Yes.
But if you're doing that without purpose, then it is purposeless.
Yes.
And so that's exactly what he's saying. You're right. He's going to practice what he preaches. If you don't, then all you're preaching is for naught. Nobody's going to listen to you.
They're not going to be too impressed with what's coming out.
Correct,
No.
yes. And the last one, and many of us are familiar with this, from the writer of Hebrews. It's from Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. Again, the comparison being to something you're doing physically, but running with endurance means you're going to persevere through all the trials that are going to get in the way of your spiritual health, because you have a destination, and this race before you has purpose.
The scripture Philippians 1:6. He's that started the good work in me. He's going to complete it.
Right.
And I might have to go through a lot of stuff till he's done.
That's exactly right.
And he's not done working on me yet.
That's right.
And so it is endurance.
So why is it that you think that even understanding that you have a spiritual discipline, that you discipline yourself spiritually, why is that so important?
I think because the devil comes to seek, kill, and destroy. So it's thinking about, you want to run a race. Why? You want to win. The boxer that practices, you want to win. You don't want to get beat.
Yes.
I don't want to get sick. For me, I closely tie my spiritual well-being to my physical well-being. If I am spiritually not well, it is a matter of, I feel like days before I physically start to decline. And so for me, I don't want to get sick.
Right.
So I don't want to be spiritually sick, because then that just affects everything around me. And then I don't want to be physically sick, because I think when I'm spiritually sick, basically I have, so to say, let my guard down. And that just gives the enemy room to come in. And the easiest thing for the enemy is to attack us physically.
Yes.
So I am so excited for the end of this series next week. But I feel like being spiritually well is going to keep us physically, emotionally,
absolutely. Very good. Well stated. I can't even add anything to that. Now, but the thing is, though, even though I know that, and to be spiritually, to be disciplined at anything takes practice.
Yeah.
You don't just are discipline by the very nature of the word requires practice to get to that. A discipline is something that you've done so many times that it's become something that's part of you.
Yes.
So spiritual discipline it's important because you need to have that part of you. But why do we neglect that? I think about being in my spiritual discipline, in being spiritually fit. I do equate it to working out sometimes. And sometimes I don't want to go do it. I mean, I don't want to go to the gym.
It's cold. It's dark.
Yes.
I'm tired. I'm hungry. I
don't want to go see Shiloh because she's going to hurt me. I don't want to do those things. I do them because I have a goal in mind. And then eventually, as you do them, you become so disciplined, it becomes part of you. I take, again, my son, for example. That's his degree is in fitness. And it's always marveled me how this boy loves to work out.
Right.
It's part of who he is.
Right.
Now, he didn't start out that way. But for him now to miss a day at the gym is a tragedy for him. He can't stand it. And because it's so much a part of who he is. I'm not there yet in my working out.
Well, then think of the word discipline. Remember what the beginning of the word is I'm a disciple.
Very good.
So again, we've talked about that when we were doing idols and we were doing encouragement. Where is your heart?
Yes.
Lord, I'm going to the gym, not because I want to go get my butt kicked by Shiloh, but because I love you. I love the temple that you gave me. I love the body that I would like to keep. My joke was, we can't do it if we're dead. Lord, I am a disciple of you. And that's why I'm doing this spiritually. I'm a disciple of you. That's why I'm doing this physically. I think of that every time that I feel, I have not done so well in something. I probably was not using my heart as the motive. It was probably the image or the something or the dress or the whatever. Who am I trying to impress?
And that's the word disciple being in there when the people that were disciples of Jesus, because we think of the word disciple, we almost automatically think of that.
Yes.
A disciple of Jesus only proved themselves as a disciple when they followed after him consistently.
Yes.
They didn't just come to 1 or 2 times he talked, got fed a couple of times, and then ran away.
Yeah, here's all your fish, I'm out of here.
They were not disciples.
Right.
Disciples left what they knew and followed him consistently.
Yes.
Then they became his disciples. If you're a disciple of someone, a disciple of someone's teaching, a disciple, then that's not necessarily wrong. It's a word that means you followed them with commitment.
Consistently.
Yes. So to discipline yourself spiritually, just like you discipline yourself physically, it requires you to do it consistently. Because that is so important, because if you don't have spiritual health, which requires spiritual discipline, when tragedy strikes, you fall apart.
Yes.
It's the same as, think about it in terms of your physical. If I'm not disciplined physically, and then I go to the gym like once every 2 months, I'm going to get hurt.
Oh, I can tell you I did that last week.
Because my body is not disciplined to be assaulted in that way.
Right.
Either with heavy exercise or whatever. You have to do this with consistency. Same with your spirituality. It is so very important to be spiritually disciplined and to be then spiritually healthy. Understand your spiritual fitness is important because tragedy is going to strike. Yeah. We have been promised one thing in this earth, and that's we're going to have trouble.
Trouble's coming.
Yeah, exactly. And
trouble's coming. Are you ready?
Yes, and every time those troubles come, if you're not spiritually healthy, you haven't disciplined yourself in your spirituality, that's when you will not handle the trouble well. You're going to fall apart. Your life's going to fall apart. People are going to fall apart around you because you haven't already established this discipline.
And I think about how we get off. Trouble will come, and that's going to take us away from the discipline.
Right.
I believe that when trouble comes and it takes us away from our discipline, the energy and the power and the strength that we've built up spiritually is going to get us through that. And then we find ourselves just where the enemy wants us. Oh, we've made it over that hump. Now we're at the bottom of this valley. We're out of spiritual shape.
Right.
How do you get back in shape? You don't go back to your hour because maybe you don't physically or spiritually have it in you.
Right.
It's okay. Start where you are, because it's the minute you open that Bible, the minute that you start praying, the devil is defenseless and you are starting to build yourself back up. Yes. I hate to say it, for the next assault.
That's right. But then when that next assault comes, you're not depleted. You're starting right at that level, and you continue to discipline. It's the same as again with with physical fitness.
I told you they were together.
They are together. It's the same with that. You when you go to the gym for the first time, you're not going to work out like a maniac for an hour.
Because you'll remember it tomorrow.
Yes.
And then you won't do anything.
Yourself. Yes.
And then you won't do anything.
Then you won't do anything. It's the same with your spiritual fitness. It's okay if you don't have it in you to give God more than 5 or 10 minutes. Or you don't know the Bible backwards and forwards. That's okay. It doesn't matter.
That's how I learned it.
Yes.
I started writing it. I would write a scripture. Sometimes I'd write it 2 or 3 times, and then I would say it out loud. And then we know that in the armor of God that we're going to have that sword when we need it. Yes. God's going to remind us of those things.
And you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
You have to begin that spiritual discipline. It's the reason why I've written a few devotionals.
Oh, I love them.
Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians are the 3 that I've written so far. I've got quite a few others that are coming. But those are designed to take you 10 minutes in the morning.
Yep.
And I designed those so that you could begin your spiritual discipline, or either that or add to it.
Yeah.
All you got to have is 10 minutes.
Right.
And if you'll start with that, with 10 minutes, then you can move into that discipline. And it's just, eventually you'll do 15 and then 20. And then it doesn't even have to be long. It's just your time will become more quality.
Right. And you'll want to do it.
Yes.
Because obviously, just like physical, you feel better. So you're like, that's why I'm going back.
Yes.
The same thing with spiritual. Oh my gosh, I have joy, peace. I have all of these things. I want to do this.
Yes. It's like when you go to the gym and you look in the mirror and go, oh, look at their muscles.
Oh, I got back into those
Exactly.
shorts. Oh.
Then you want to keep doing it. That's
Yes.
your incentive.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to start.
Yes.
And what's that old saying? It's a lot easier to stay in shape than to get in shape.
Oh boy.
Well, that is the truth for your spiritual fitness too.
Absolutely.
It's a lot harder to get there than it is to stay there, because once you get there, you want to stay there.
Absolutely.
And you want to know more.
Yes.
So spiritual fitness, we know, is extraordinarily important just for how you're going to do life.
Right.
But it's also important for how you're going to display God to a world that needs to know Him.
Yes.
Secondly, though, it's extraordinarily important to have it, but it's even more important to begin it and then to maintain it.
Yeah.
And to understand the importance of having it in your life.
I shared with you that when you were in Africa, we did a radio show. We did a whole show on fitness. And I was like, oh, I'll just dig up those notes. And then he spoke to me as if it were suddenly, why would you dig up those old notes? Why not study it again? And that's what's so great about his word. That's why people read the Bible in a year. Some of us, it takes us 3 years. Read it again, because each time he's going to speak differently to your heart. You're going to be in a different place. You're going to need a different part. You're going to comprehend something differently.
Yes.
I joked, it's like sitting on the couch watching an exercise video. You just have to do it. You just have to do it. And you have to do it probably over
and over again.
and over.
Because God's faithful. He doesn't run dry.
Nope.
He's not going to get bored.
It's new. His mercies are new every morning, and his word is like refreshing, just pouring
Yes.
over you differently all the time.
And then you talk about that, reading the Bible in a year. It is, and I do too. And I've read through the Bible, 10, 12 times. And last year, I should say, I started it again, reading the Bible through again, and I try to do something different every time. As many times as I've read through the Bible, and my doctorate's in biblical studies. So it's not that I don't know this word.
Right.
But last year, I said, I'm going to do it again. And this year, I did something different. I started summarizing it.
Right.
And I shouldn't have been, but in awe of what the Father showed me.
Right.
New revelations.
Absolutely.
New depth of understanding. New things about Him. That it wasn't that I was adding to the Word, it's just I was getting more revelation.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens. It's like, your muscles don't stop getting bigger.
Right.
They don't stop forming. You don't get less strong. You don't stagnate.
No.
The more you do, the more you get.
Yep.
And that's the way it is with spiritual fitness as well. The Father wants to reveal Himself to you.
Yes.
He wants me to know Him more. He wants you to, because that relationship, He's a God of relationship.
Yep.
We are people of relationship because we were created in His image.
Yes.
He is a God of relationship. He wants relationship with you. And you cannot have a relationship with someone you don't know.
You got to be in the Word.
Yes. And if I want to have a relationship with you or with Alex or anybody else, I have to get to know them.
Got to see you.
I got to see you. I
Got to talk to you.
Got to spend some time with you.
Got to listen to you.
And all that time you're building relationship.
Yes.
And so that's a relationship fitness. Spiritual fitness means I do that with God. He wants me to do that. So to think that you're going to keep on studying and you're just going to get to the point where
I'm good.
This is all old news to me. It never happens.
And I love that there's so many different seasons in our life where, like you said, when you read it this time, it was completely different. I've been listening to it. And silly as it sounds, because it kept me from being upset in traffic. It kept me from being distracted. Hello, talking on the phone and texting. I mean, how easy is it to sit there and be distracted? Why not listen to His word? Running with my dog. You were joking about running. We run, and I was going to say 10 minutes. Wow, we run 8 minutes now because somehow or another we got better at running. But I pray the whole time that I'm running with my dog. I don't really do that for physical exercise. I do so that my dog is happy. But in the meantime, I'm praying to my Father.
Yes.
And so just listening to His word, running and praying with His word, walking the kids, having those little, say a little prayer every time you wash your dishes. How we love washing dishes. Thank you, Lord, for, the food that we had.
Right.
There's so many simple ways that we can add to our spiritual fitness. And there's seasons that sometimes we're better at it.
Yes.
And sometimes we got a better way of doing it. And sometimes we need someone to come alongside us.
right.
And then that's how you build relationship with your Father, and then like a Bible study with your sisters. in the
Very
Lord.
good. That's excellent. And that is, and the point being in all of this is that it needs to be a part of you.
Mm-hmm.
It is a spiritual fitness, spiritual discipline, as Paul writes and the writer of Hebrews wrote, is a discipline because it's part of you.
Yeah.
It is something that you do consistently, continually, that you move and get better and better at. It's
Yep.
not something you do pot-shoddy, because without that, you cannot do life.
Right.
Not as a Christian, and you won't be doing it in any kind of success or with any kind of effectiveness,
Right.
especially as a kingdom builder.
Yes.
So spiritual fitness, in our little short fitness series, I believe is the most important of the two.
Of course.
But we tend to put more emphasis on the second, because we're so much more about this physical than we are
Yes.
about the spiritual. So again, a part of the discipline is recognizing that that's turned the wrong way.
Right.
That we have to be. It's got to be about your spiritual discipline. So I urge you, if you're not having a time with the Lord, there is no excuse for that. And so many people have heard me say this from the stage. It takes 5 or 10 minutes. If Jesus were standing in your room with you,
Ooh.
would you say to him,
I don't have time.
I just feel like I need to sleep for 5 more minutes. I'll catch you tomorrow. There's no way you would do that. And what you're basically saying is, I need to sleep more than I need to talk to you.
And that's a good point, is each day just set your alarm 5 minutes earlier.
Yes.
You tell me to wake up an hour earlier tomorrow, it is not happening. You tell me to wake up 5 minutes earlier tomorrow,
I can
do that.
Yeah.
And then 5 days from now, I'm going to feel so awesome that I have days in my journal, Lord, I don't want to leave you yet.
Yes.
And then the next thing you know, it's 10 minutes. And then, whoa, heaven forbid, an hour.
Yes.
And it's easy.
And you don't, and none of your time is wasted.
Never.
If it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and it's just, you don't measure yourself by someone who spends an hour or 2
Right.
hours.
We learned that. Don't compare.
It's a discipline. You are getting into shape.
It's because your heart
Yes.
is in the right place.
Yes. And you will glean from that.
Yep.
So my point in that is to exhort you to do it. You cannot get in shape without starting. If you're already spending time in your spiritual journey, do more. Make it deeper. Always push the envelope. Always try to get more and more and more.
I challenged my daddy, show me more.
Yes, and he will.
He
But
will.
You've got to do your part.
Be there.
Yes,
You
it's
got
not-
to show up.
He doesn't, there's no kind of magical pixie dust that's going to come from the air and sprinkle on you, and all of a sudden you know so much more.
Right.
That's why they use these analogies. It's like physical fitness.
Yes.
You've got to discipline yourself and do the work. Just like being physically fit, nobody comes to you, and I'm going to tell you right now, those diet pills don't work. You can't take a pill. You can't just automatically go and get in
it.
shape.
Yeah.
You have to work for it. So you have to work for your spiritual fitness as well. And you have to start it, then you have to work for it, and you have to continue working for it, and then eventually it becomes a joy because you want to work
I
for it.
want to.
So let me also encourage you, if you need something to get you started, that's why I wrote those devotionals. They really only require 10 minutes. You don't even have to have a Bible, because I give you the verse.
Right.
You read the Bible verse, I give you an explanation of what happens, an exhortation from that, one little study question you can think about, and I even write out a prayer. So you literally,
Everything you got.
it's right there. It'll take you 10 minutes. And you will go through the book of Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians deeply. I take it verse by verse, so you're going through them deeply. Each
And
of
there you
them
go.
are 90 days. If you give yourself 90 days,
Yes.
at the end of that 90 days, it will be as if you went to a college course on that book. And it'll only take you 10 minutes a day. So you can get those on my website, debwaterbury.com. If you're not using mine, I'm not saying you have to. It's just a tool.
Well, and
There
that's
are
a good
so
thing that
many
you
of
say
them.
that. There is no excuse.
There isn't.
You can go from one of your social medias to the other, from Pinterest to, there's a
stuff
million ways
everywhere.
to get
Apps.
happy
Oh,
and
gosh.
spiritually fit. 5 minutes or less.
Yes, absolutely. They're all out there. There are so many because we all struggle with the same thing.
Yes.
So yes, just find a tool, use the tool, begin the tool, and then get spiritually fit.
Be a disciple.
Yes, be a disciple. God bless you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining me today on this episode of Real Life with Deb Waterbury. I hope it's been a blessing to you as much as it was to me. If you want any of my books or information on articles or any of my speaking engagements, you can go to my website at debwaterbury.com. God bless you.